I'm holding my phone as I write this, and I've just learned something that makes me want to hurl this sleek piece of technology into the nearest body of water. The lithium-ion battery powering this device required the extraction of minerals from Chile's Atacama Desert, where 500 years' worth of underground water was consumed in 18 months to process enough lithium for your environmentally friendly electric future. And here's the part that makes me question every decision our species has made since discovering fire. We're calling this progress. This isn't just an environmental disaster with a tech-bro marketing department. It's a full-scale geopolitical realignment disguised as a climate solution. While everyone argues about carbon footprints, a handful of corporations and authoritarian governments have quietly constructed a mineral empire that makes the oil industry look quaint. The smartphone in your pocket and the Tesla in your driveway have created the most sophisticated resource extraction network in human history. And somehow we've convinced ourselves this represents environmental responsibility. I've spent months mapping this lithium empire, and what I've discovered is a system so perversely constructed that it turns environmental consciousness into corporate colonialism. Every time someone buys an electric vehicle to save the planet, they're funding a supply chain that destroys ecosystems, displaces indigenous communities, and strengthens authoritarian regimes with climate-conscious efficiency. The mathematics are staggering. A single electric vehicle battery requires 63 kilograms of lithium carbonate, draining approximately 500,000 litres of water from aquifers that took millennia to fill. Tesla's gigafactory in Nevada alone will require more lithium than the entire world produced in 2013, and Elon Musk has announced plans to build 12 more. At this rate, we're saving the planet by strip mining it into uninhabitability. The geography of lithium deposits reads like a cosmic joke designed to test humanity's cognitive dissonance. Roughly 60% of the world's lithium reserves sit beneath the lithium triangle, Chile, Argentina, and Bolivia, which also contains some of Earth's most fragile ecosystems and marginalized communities. It's as if the universe said, "You want clean energy? Fine, but you'll destroy the environment to get it." Chile's Atacama Desert contains the largest lithium reserves, and extraction has turned pristine landscapes into industrial wastelands. The process involves pumping mineral-rich brine into massive evaporation pools that stretch across the desert like alien crop circles. Spelling out your green future requires ecological apocalypse in letters visible from space. The local Atacameño people have watched their ancestral lands transform into chemical pools while water sources disappear. Flamingo populations have declined by 90% as salt flat habitats are drained for lithium processing. Our quest to build environmentally friendly vehicles is literally killing flamingos. Bolivia possesses the world's largest untapped lithium reserves beneath the Uyuni salt flats. But Bolivia's wealth made it a target for resource diplomacy. The 2019 coup removing Evo Morales occurred 3 weeks after Bolivia announced plans to develop lithium with Chinese companies rather than American ones. The timing was so convenient for Western lithium interests that even conspiracy theorists said, "This is insultingly obvious." The coup government immediately reversed Bolivia's lithium policy and opened negotiations with Western companies. Tesla CEO Elon Musk described this on Twitter as favorable for battery production. When questioned, Musk replied, "We will coup whoever we want. Deal with it." I had to read that tweet 17 times to convince myself it was real. While Western companies congratulated themselves for transitioning to clean energy, China quietly constructed a mineral supply chain that would make the British East India Company jealous. Beijing's approach combines long-term strategic planning with patient capital deployment that makes American quarterly earnings look like impulse purchases. China's Belt and Road Initiative isn't just about infrastructure, it's about securing exclusive mineral access. Chinese companies have systematically acquired lithium mining, processing and battery manufacturing across 4 continents, creating vertical integration, or what I call technological empire building. The numbers are staggering. China controls 80% of the world's lithium processing capacity, meaning even lithium mined in Australia or Chile must travel to Chinese facilities for refinement. This gives Beijing effective veto power over global electric vehicle transitions, explaining why Chinese officials respond to trade disputes with nice green energy transition, shame if something happened to it. China's strategy extends beyond extraction. Chinese companies dominate lithium mining across Africa through infrastructure deals African governments can't refuse. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, Chinese firms control 70% of cobalt mining through agreements providing roads, hospitals and schools in exchange for exclusive mineral rights worth trillions. The strategic brilliance becomes clear. China has made Western environmental goals dependent on Chinese resource control. Every electric vehicle sold in Europe or America strengthens China's global position because those vehicles cannot exist without Chinese-controlled supply chains. We've created environmental responsibility requiring geopolitical submission, exactly the strategic trap Sun Tzu would have appreciated. While governments play mineral chess, multinational corporations have perfected extraction systems so sophisticated they make traditional colonialism look primitive. The key innovation isn't technological, it's public relations. These companies present environmental destruction as environmental salvation, with messaging that would make tobacco industry spin doctors weep with admiration. Albemarle Corporation, the world's largest lithium producer, operates mines across Chile, Argentina and Australia while maintaining websites featuring pristine landscapes and solar panels, carefully omitting the 18 million litres of water required to produce 1 tonne of lithium. They're literally destroying environments while claiming to save them, making it sound philanthropic. Operations in Chile's Atacama Desert have reduced local water tables by 65%, forcing indigenous communities to abandon agricultural practices sustained for thousands of years. When communities protested, Albemarle's response included community engagement initiatives, cash payments to buy acquiescence to ecological destruction. Sociedad Química y Minera SQM has perfected regulatory capture through political donations and revolving door employment. Former Chilean environmental officials routinely join SQM's executive team after government service, creating feedback loops where environmental regulations are written by people who later profit from implementation. It's like asking foxes to design henhouse security. Meanwhile, Ganfeng Lithium has acquired mining operations across Argentina, Australia and Ireland through agreements giving Chinese companies permanent extraction rights for temporary infrastructure investments. It's exchanging short-term development assistance for long-term resource control, implemented with the efficiency of a board game where only one player understands the rules. The global race for lithium has created what analysts call a new great game, except this version involves mining equipment instead of military bases. The pace suggests we're approaching a resource event horizon where battery materials become more important than traditional national power measures. Researching this system has been disturbing because it reveals how environmental consciousness can be weaponized against democratic values. Countries with lithium deposits leverage Western climate commitments to extract favorable deals on trade and diplomacy. Environmental necessity has created resource blackmail, where authoritarian governments threaten green energy transitions by restricting mineral exports. This played out during the Russia-Ukraine conflict when European electric vehicle manufacturers discovered their supply chains depended on Russian nickel and lithium processing. Sanctions created massive battery production disruptions, forcing European leaders to choose between environmental goals and geopolitical principles. Watching climate activists argue for continued trade with authoritarian regimes because electric vehicle production requires their minerals was environmental consciousness eating itself. Indonesia's nickel mining provides a preview of how resource-rich nations will leverage green transitions for geopolitical advantage. Jakarta banned raw nickel exports in 2020, forcing companies to build processing facilities within Indonesian borders for access to 30% of world supply. This created Indonesian jobs while establishing permanent infrastructure, giving Indonesia control over crucial battery supply chain links. The EU filed WTO complaints about Indonesia's export restrictions, creating the surreal spectacle of European climate officials arguing that environmental necessity justifies overriding national sovereignty over mineral resources. We've created a world where saving the planet requires forcing poorer nations to strip mine their environments for Western electric vehicle buyers. Based on current extraction rates and strategic calculations, 3 scenarios emerge for our lithium-dependent future, each more concerning than the last, all suggesting our clean energy transition has the geopolitical sophistication of a toddler with dynamite. Asterisk, asterisk. Scenario 1, the authoritarian mineral alliance, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. China, Russia and lithium-rich authoritarian states form explicit cartels modelled after OPEC, giving coordinated control over Western clean energy transitions. This alliance achieves geopolitical objectives through mineral export restrictions rather than traditional pressure, creating a world where environmental policies become tools of international submission. Western democracies choose between climate goals and political independence, with European governments moderating Chinese human rights criticism to maintain battery material access. Taiwan's independence becomes untenable when China threatens lithium export cuts to countries maintaining unofficial Taipei relations. Climate conferences become mineral negotiations where environmental commitments are hostage to geopolitical compliance. Green blackmail enters common usage as authoritarian governments discover Western environmental consciousness creates more leverage than traditional international pressure. Mining corporations complete their global lithium capture, creating a world where clean energy access depends on corporate boardrooms rather than democratic governance. Companies like Albemarle become more powerful than governments, determining which countries receive battery materials and which remain fossil fuel dependent. These mineral lords operate like feudal systems, with extraction sites as company towns where local governments lack authority over environmental policies. Democratic oversight becomes impossible as environmental regulations are written by profiting corporations. Electric vehicle production becomes corporate privilege rather than market competition, with lithium access determining manufacturer survival. National governments cannot pursue independent environmental policies without corporate approval, as battery access depends on maintaining mining company relationships. Asterisk, asterisk, scenario 3, the ecological collapse acceleration. Asterisk, asterisk, massive lithium extraction combined with climate change creates cascading failures, undermining the green transition mining was supposed to enable. Aquifer depletion in the lithium triangle triggers South American agricultural collapse, creating refugee flows, destabilizing neighboring countries. Lithium mining waste accumulates beyond disposal system capacity, creating toxic landscapes, making Chernobyl look minor. Battery production environmental costs begin exceeding electric vehicle benefits, but infrastructure investments make course reversal economically impossible. The global economy becomes dependent on unsustainable extraction, guaranteeing systemic failure within decades. Environmental activists discover they spent decades advocating solutions that accelerated rather than solved ecological collapse. Here's what keeps me staring at my phone with disgust and existential dread. We've created a technological system requiring environmental destruction to function while marketing itself as environmental salvation. Every electric vehicle ad, solar panel installation, and smartphone upgrade contributes to mineral extraction operating with the environmental sensitivity of strip mining, run by people who think recycling means using the same shovel twice. The cruel irony is that we possess technological knowledge for genuinely sustainable energy systems, advanced geothermal, next-generation solar, improved storage. But we've chosen to scale up resource extraction, making 20th century oil drilling look environmentally responsible. We're strip mining our way to sustainability with the logical consistency of trying to lose weight by eating more cake. I question every environmental choice, knowing my hybrid vehicle, solar panels, and appliances depend on supply chains, turning indigenous communities into refugees and ecosystems into industrial wastelands. We've created environmental responsibility requiring environmental destruction, convincing ourselves this represents progress rather than sophisticated collective self-deception. Technology companies employ behavioral psychologists whose job is helping consumers feel good about purchasing products requiring ecological devastation. Tesla's marketing has convinced millions that buying $100 000 luxury vehicles represents environmental activism, perhaps the greatest corporate propaganda triumph since tobacco companies convinced people cigarettes were healthy. Meanwhile, actual environmental activists, indigenous communities fighting lithium mines, African workers demanding better cobalt conditions, Chilean farmers watching water sources disappear are systematically ignored by environmental movements celebrating electric vehicle sales as climate victories. We've created environmental consciousness prioritizing consumer choices over human rights, technological solutions over ecological preservation. The next time you charge your phone, remember you're not just replenishing a battery, you're participating in resource extraction spanning continents, destroying ecosystems, and strengthening authoritarian governments while undermining democratic institutions. Your environmental consciousness has been weaponized against political values through supply chains so complex that understanding them requires research most people lack time to conduct. We've created a world where saving the planet requires destroying it, where environmental activism strengthens mineral cartels, and where clean energy depends on dirty mining making fossil fuel extraction look environmentally responsible. The lithium empire operates through your laptop, electric vehicles, solar panels and smartphone, turning every environmentally conscious consumer choice into a vote for ecological destruction with better marketing. The question isn't whether lithium wars are coming, they're here, disguised as environmental progress and marketed as technological innovation. The question is whether we'll recognize them in time to choose different solutions or continue strip mining our way to sustainability while congratulating ourselves for caring about the environment. Every electric vehicle advertisement promising to save the planet is powered by minerals extracted from communities that never consented to environmental destruction, processed by companies with no democratic accountability and controlled by governments with no human rights commitment. Your green future is built on someone else's ecological apocalypse, and we've convinced ourselves this represents moral progress. The smartphone in your hand contains condensed environmental destruction from 3 continents, political subjugation of multiple indigenous communities, and technological dependence, making democratic oversight impossible. And we call it innovation.